Now, what I'm after first is for you just introduce yourself, who you are, any key information you think people need to know about you. So I'll start it as a question. I'll say, right, what, Joseph, why should people listen to you on the subject of neighbourhood parliaments?
Well, so greetings to all of you, first of all. And now the world is moving in the wrong direction, especially connected to governance. Today, the governments, whether small governments or big nations or small nations, they seem to be not respecting the opinion of the people, not seem to be respecting the mindset, the likes and dislikes of the people. Instead, there is some hidden masters, those who are behind the governance. The political leaders are only the people, those who are in the forefront. But I feel, and many political experts feel, that there are hidden masters behind these forefront leaders who rule the countries. And these hidden masters do not really want people to be heard, because whatever the opinion people have, most of the time goes against the wishes of these hidden masters. So there is no platform for people to take charge of the governance directly. And I feel now it's a right time people come together to say what they want to say, to decide what they want to decide, and especially connected to the governance. So that's why we want, or we are promoting, a platform for people starting from the neighborhood. Otherwise, people really do not have platform at all, even to share their likes and dislikes, what they like and what they don't like in their normal life, in their day-to-day life. And especially for governance, they need a platform. That's why we say the seat of power, the seat of decision making in a democracy, which we call parliament, should not be in a place where people do not have access, but it should be among the people where people live. For example, in democracy, I can still more to say, I elect my representative to be a member in the parliament, and he goes there and he doesn't speak what I want him to speak as my representative. And rather, he never even asks me, Mr. Joseph, you have elected me. I am your representative. I am going to the parliament tomorrow. Tell me what I should talk. No, never. Rather, he talks what his party wants him to talk, not what people who elected him tell him to talk. And I also, as an individual, cannot go to the parliament to talk what I want or what I wish. So, as individuals, people need a platform where they can talk and take charge of the governance. And that's why we want everywhere, all over the world, the neighborhoods have to be connected and networked at the higher level, so that even at the nation level, they will have a voice of expressing their wishes and taking charge of the governance. And we are even dreaming of having a global government networked from neighborhood to global level. Yes, Susie. I can't hear you.
That's right. I have to unmute myself again each time. And I might forget. So wave at me if I do. So that was very beautiful. You didn't answer the question I asked. You went and answered the next question that you've got written down, but that's fine because I can edit round it. So, but while you're on this subject, I would like to ask you, you mentioned about the sort of hidden forces, and because we've come out of a time of immense conspiracy theories and all of that, the language has been sort of hijacked, some language, and so I think it's important to explain that you're not talking about lizards. You're talking about much more pragmatically how the world runs. So could you just say a little bit more about, and by all means use India as an example as well, of how the power structure works and why forming neighbourhood parliaments in India and other countries has been beneficial?
Now, people, as I explained in the previous question, democracy is understood to be not a real democracy, but a conspiracy. In fact, people are used to be only voters, so that the people, those who are the hidden masters, rule permanently. Now, this way what happens is, when people come together and form themselves and take charge of the governance of the neighborhood, nobody can stop them. Nobody can stop them. In my neighborhood, if we 25 families or 30 families come together to decide what is good for us and what is not good for us, who can stop us? And in fact, this is deepening the democracy. It is not against democracy, but to give a meaning, a very deep meaning to the democracy, to make democracy more meaningful. That's how we see it. So in this system of governance, what we promote, which we call neighborocracy, every individual, however small he is, has an assertive say of what he wants. And today we see in many, many countries we've been seeing, and very lately we've been seeing in Russia, people do not want Russia to go to war. They don't want. And whoever doesn't want a war are called traitors by the government. This is a need. This is a very hard example where people need to have a platform to decide for themselves. And that should be the decision of the country. Not few individuals at the top level and just, create something, whatever they want, against the wishes of the people. And in many places, that is what is happening. And even in Brexit, we could see that. And we can give so many examples of so many countries how it is being run against the wishes of the people. Now, lately in Iran, all the women folk come to the streets to say that we have freedom on our body, but the government says no. So this is where we feel that people have to come together and build their own platform of governance where they can decide what is good for them and what is bad for them, and run the government, run the governance, take charge of the governance for the neighborhood. So that's how I feel about it.
That's lovely, Joseph. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to say my question that I need for the answer you've just given. and then so you don't, I'm going to ask the question but don't answer it because you've already just answered it, and then I'm going to again ask you the original question which is just more about you yourself and where you're coming from, because people don't know you, so I need to establish who you are and your experience and everything.
Right.
But so just let me ask my question first. Joseph, over here in the UK and the USA, we have our benign governments, our democracy, and we know that those in power must surely have our best interests at heart. So why should we bother to create local, street level, village level, community level neighbourhood parliaments?
Yeah.
And now I'm going to ask you that question that I asked at the beginning. That because you've already answered that question, haven't you? Really, that I've just said. So the question I'm going to ask you now is, which I'd love you to then go ahead and answer very specifically, is, Joseph, could you let people know who you are and why you are an authority on the creation of neighbourhood parliaments internationally?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Susi, for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself. I was basically a businessman in 80s, and late 80s I thought I should do something for the people, and so I started a political party. After starting a political party, I realized party politics cannot do much to the people. Though party politics is the built-in system in democracy, but what I felt was party politics always talks about coming to power, getting the vote, and not much beyond that. And whatever talk they make is only to address, to ensure that they get enough votes to come to power. That's all. And once I realized that, I said, I'm in the wrong track. Then I started reading some wonderful bigwigs and experienced people about politics. And one such important person was Dr. Ambedkar, who is the father of Indian Constitution. And he was a law minister in Jawaharlal Nehru's government in 50s. And he had a very mass followers, very mass, very big number of followers in millions. But he did not have his own party, or he did not belong to any political party. Because of his knowledge, experience, he was made a law minister in Nehru's government. So people ask him, see, you have such a big followers. Why don't you start a political party? And this great man says, no, I don't want to. The reason is, even if a saint comes down from heaven and starts a political party to change the system, he cannot change the system will change him. And this was very real eye-opening to me. And he explains, however noble cause a person comes with to start a political party, but to run his party, he needs money. And to get that money, he has to stretch out his hand to the people who have money. That is the rich people, the corporates, the capitalists. Once he gets the money from these people, then he has to compromise. And once he compromises, he cannot change the system. The system changes him and he becomes part of the system. And I became very much convinced with these words. Then I said, I am in the wrong track. But I do not want to leave politics. But I have to give a right politics. I have to work for people's politics, not party politics. And that's how I started working on it. Then when I was started working on it, I was not knowing what to do, where to start and how to do. And I met one father, Catholic priest, Father Edwin, who is in Tamil Nadu, he was already talking about these neighborhood parliaments, governance starting from the neighborhood. And I was so much attracted with this concept. I said, "See, it's wonderful. This is what I was looking for." Then I joined him in early 90s. Now for past 30 years, I've been promoting this and I've been the master trainer. I have written few books on that and I've been running so much on this and training so many hundreds and thousands of NGOs all over the country and now lately in even in European countries. And that's how I am into it.
That's lovely, thank you. And is there anything else about your? It doesn't need to be, but is there anything else about your education or experience? I mean, for example, did you help start the first neighbourhood parliament? So if you were doing a little bio to show off,
Okay.
I want you to I want you to show off for a little bit and just tell me more about
Yeah.
you as a person.
As a person, I am coming from a Catholic background. I did my studies, my graduation in mass media communication in Mumbai. Then after that, right after that studies, I started my business. My first business was assembling audio cassettes in mid 70s or late 70s. At that time, audio cassettes was a very catching industry in India, so I got into that, and I used to buy the cuts and the housing and the hubs and all from the importers, and I started having my own assembling unit of the audio cassettes. I assembled my own audio
Joe,
cassettes in my own.
Joseph, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I know that we have limited time and I've got lots of other questions I want to ask.
So
So I want you to stick to you with relation to neighbourhood parliaments. I mean, were you involved with the first neighbourhood parliament, or was there one that you created in your own neighbourhood? Just a few little details,
yes,
because at the moment
so
all we know is that you met a priest and helped him, but we don't actually know any specifics. So stick to the specifics if you can. Thank you.
thank you, thank you. So in when I came to know the idea from Father Edwin, then I started working with him. And the name was already given, but there were a lot of things to be experimented. So I started working with Father Edwin, started creating, fine tuning the whole idea, then started implementing here and there, and approaching various organizations, approaching various groups, community groups, and training them and all on that. And after some time, I felt that I myself have to start my own neighborhood parliament. But I tried because I am living in a flat, in an apartment where 24 families are there. But I could not convince them about it because I had very little time spent here in my home because I was traveling all over. So hardly 1 or 2 days a month I used to be here. So I was not known so much to my neighbors, but I had to spend more time with my neighbors, and still I found it difficult. But there was one time there was a crisis in the apartment, so all the people had to come together to thrash out. And that was a point I again focused. I told them, I pressurized, I gave some important. I told them, see, once we form as a very responsible group, taking charge of every issue in our neighborhood, in our apartment, then it will be successful. And everyone agreed to that. And that's how we formed the neighborhood parliament in my apartment. And now till pandemic, it was going on well. And after pandemic, there were some issues, some personal issues coming out, and which disturbed the peace, the common collective peace. But now we are reworking. We are reworking again, and I see the positive elements, and people are coming together and try to contribute as they did at earlier times.
Can you give me some of those positive? What are the positive things? What happened that made your neighbours decide to continue being part of their own neighbourhood parliament? What were the benefits? What are the benefits?
So the main benefit is the energy, the collective energy is used for something constructive. Individual energy is not enough to, to get everything done. But when that responsibility is distributed among the neighbors and everyone takes charge of something particularly, for example, in my neighborhood, before there were, before we started neighborhood parliament, there were only the president, the secretary, and the treasurer. And these three people used to take care of everything about the security, about the cleanliness, the sanitation and water distribution and the electricity and everything. But after this, what happened was, for everything, in charge. For water, there was somebody in charge. And that person takes care of only water issues. And there is somebody about the security. And this person takes care of the security issues. And there is somebody for electricity and somebody for lift maintenance. So, when these responsibilities are distributed, then the work becomes more successful, more effective, and everyone is happy. Not it is not that one or two individuals are pressurized with all this work. Yes.
And so, what about if someone's in a street though? So that's great that it can work in an apartment block. How can it work in a street or a small community?
Yes. See, any problem in a community, in the society, starts existing being from the neighborhood. Any problem starts in the neighborhood. So it is better for the neighborhood people to come together to thrash out the issues. Now we think there is somebody else, the elected representative or the county council member or the parish council member or that and this, they have to come and take care and all that. But when we as a neighborhood come together, there are certain issues which is directly connected to us, where we have to take charge of those issues and solve according to our wishes. So we take charge of the issues in our neighborhood. So it is finally we who are going to live in that particular neighborhood, and we have to decide how the neighborhood has to be, whether it should be the logistics or it should be the facilities or it could be whatever it is. Whatever we need has to be decided by us and taken charge. Ensure that it is taken care.
Thank you, Joseph. And can I just again keep pushing you on this? So when you started working with the priests and you began forming this whole concept of neighbourhood parliaments and spreading the word, what happened? I mean, have there been? You've done it in your own block finally, but has there been anyone who's taken this up in India? What's been the result of this?
So what happened was, in the beginning, actually this whole concept started in 1970s with the same Father Edwin for the Catholic communities. So all the parishes, Catholic parishes, were divided into small groups called basic Christian communities. So that's how it started. So when this idea got spread in various other dioceses, especially in Kerala, the neighboring state, and it was picking up well, and it was doing a very good service to the community, and it became more effective and successful. And the communist government in Kerala saw this. Then they said, why only for Catholics? Why can't we have for the whole community? So we can start, introducing. Then they had called Father Edwin to work on it, And of course, we started working on it. And neighborhood based, geographically based neighborhood groups were formed. And it was first formed in Kerala under the name of Ailkuttam. And it became very successful, and it became a government program. Then government took charge so that these neighborhood groups are formed. And slowly it was converted in around 97, 98 as a Kudumashri. Now still Kudumashri is running under the government care and government
Sorry,
guidance.
sorry, I didn't understand what you just said. You said it's running as a what?
As Kudumashri program. Kudumashri is a name they are given for the neighborhood parliaments in Kerala.
And so today, what is the state of neighbourhood parliaments throughout India?
So now in Kerala, we have about 298,000 neighborhood parliaments taking charge of everything, whatever is theirs. So they are networked at various levels, village level and panchayat levels. So people really take charge. Through this, what has happened is, even these panchayat leaders are elected through these neighborhood parliaments. So people even at the panchayat village level and the panchayat level are representatives really from the people, not from the party politics, but from the people, from the neighborhood parliaments, which means they listen to the people. They listen to the people and they work for the people. And whatever people say, they don't deny. They say, okay, they work out, and whatever is good for everyone, and they do it. And if they don't do it in the next election, they cannot win. Because finally, people are the one who are going to vote. And since the neighborhood parliaments are very strong structures now, any politician cannot get away with this. Just they get the votes and that's all, they do whatever they want. They cannot do that. Otherwise, they will be thrown out in the next election. So that has become a very strong structures now. And meanwhile, all over India, there are very spread out groups formed all over India. And now we have about more than approximately 400,000 neighborhood parliaments spread out all over the country.
That's really interesting, and I can see the logic of that. How, if neighbourhood parliaments are speaking to their local politicians, if their local politicians don't represent them, that's a big voting base that they're losing. So, how does that equate to who ends up running the country? So, no disrespect to your current leader in India, but is that someone who's really come out of a kind of community-based democratic process, or are there sort of two levels to what's going on, and what are your thoughts on that?
So in India, as far as India is concerned, it's a very big country. Whatever we have, these 400,000 neighborhood groups, it's only a drop in the ocean. When you when you see the whole population of India, it's 130 crores. That is about 1.3 or almost now 1.4 billion. So it's a very vast thing, and it's only a beginning. It's only a beginning that we have started few hundred thousands, but we'll have to work. And party politicians have become very, very strong in Indian context, and they have a very high influence, and they keep on dividing the people in the name of religion, in the name of caste, in the name of language, in the name of that and this and all that. So they want to hold the power always permanently. So when we start working from the grassroots to form this neighborhood parliament, of course, we also find it difficult, because we have to, one side, we'll have to organize the neighbors. Second, we have to fight against these divisive forces. So we'll have to do two works at the time, which is very difficult for us and for the organizations, those who do it. Even now, for past 4 days, only this morning I came back from Hyderabad. I've been 4 days training community leaders on this. And they say how they are very much divided by the political leaders. Political leaders appoint paid thugs in the community to ensure that people do not come together. Because they know once people come together, they lose their power. So that's how it happens.
Can you just say
So
that last bit again about the tax? Because I didn't quite get it. So what are they doing to stop people coming together?
So when people, form, immediately they jump in and see what is happening, why it is happening, who are the people, why you are going to get, coming together, why you are formed as a group, what you are going to gain and all that. So they try to discourage them or try to threaten people coming together or try to use some other hidden political means to divide them. Tell them, see, don't go with them and they have got a different agenda and that and this and all that. So these divisive forces are working very hard to keep people divided. They don't want people to come together. It is there
So,
happening very, yeah, very much.
so politicians are actively creating sort of divisions rather than encouraging
Yes.
communities to come together, which is kind of illogical if you believe in democracy, isn't it? I've got another question for you, Joseph. So, oh, within each street, right, and I'm talking here in Sussex, and I'm sure this is true with many, many places, not just in the UK, but the USA and everywhere around the world, and possibly India as well. So within each street, many people don't know their neighbours, and some may have disputes with their neighbours. So how is it really possible for most streets and communities to come together to form a neighbourhood parliament? Is it, in fact, impossible for some communities?
Yes. You are right. You are very right, Susi, on this. Indian context, everything happens on the street. So for neighbors coming together, it is not very difficult. But in European countries or in American countries, the culture has come that they don't connect with the neighbors. So they find it difficult to connect with the neighbors. But this I see, this is a trend which is happening in the past 200 years. Before that, how were these communities? They were well connected with the neighbors. Because of this, a type of, I don't know whether I am right or wrong or if there are any other reasons, but after the industrial revolution, people have become more individual and they don't have time to connect with others. They are so busy, maintaining their own life and their family and things like that. And that has become more and more and more stronger, so that now even the families have become a very small families, nuclear families. And beyond that, there is nothing for them. So it has come to this level now within this past 200 years. And in India, it was 50 years back like that. People were so close to each other and they did everything together. Now, slowly, here also it is happening. But it is difficult in this present context. But I would say, though it is difficult, we have to try our level best to connect with our neighbors. And we have to re-culturize ourselves in this aspect. We have to go back to the old culture of connecting ourselves with the neighbors. And that is very, very important. And that is the only way that we can get ourselves connected, do things as a community, take charge of the governance for ourselves, decide things for ourselves, and do anything, whatever we want as we want to happen. Otherwise, we will be played as a pawns in the hands of the politicians. That's all.
Beautifully put. So it's not impossible then, and I'll ask you some more specifics in obviously around that. But what are the first steps to creating a neighbourhood parliament, and what are the challenges? So let's take a I don't know, a street in some street in Europe, for example, where they have this culture of not necessarily knowing each other, maybe having even major issues with some of their fellow neighbours. And as you said, we have no real culture of coming together, maybe for the Queen's Jubilee or something like that, but that's about it. So could you just explain what are those, in simple terms, what are the very first steps that people can take if they think, well, actually, is this possible? Could I do this in my street?
Yeah. First thing is, meet the neighbors. Introduce yourself. Try to build a relationship with them. Somebody has to take charge of it. If I want to take charge of this, I have to spend some time to connect with my neighbors. Go and meet them, knock their doors, talk to them, introduce yourself, and invite them for a celebration, a get together. Give a card. Okay, why don't we come together? See, in Europe, this celebration, festival is common. So we will have a neighborhood festival. We will connect with them just to share food, share ideas. And I remember when I was in UK, I was in Uckfield on that day when the funeral of the Queen happened. And Nate, my friend, my host with whom I was staying, he said, there's something happening in the neighborhood. People are coming together. Please come, we'll go and see. So I went there. I was so happy. And almost all the neighbors were there. About 20 of them were there. Then I started engaging, discussing with them. I asked them, how often you come together? And one of them said, as I remember, the last time we came together was about 30 years back. Then I said, it is too long. Then what made you come together today? Just the funeral of the Queen. So we came together to just share our grief together and have some meals. Then I said, if there is some reason for us to come together, find the reason to come together. And we need not wait for the Queen to die. We can find so many other reasons. The birthday of the members in the neighborhood, the marriage anniversary of the member, or some graduation of the members in the neighborhood, or something. We find some reasons for the neighbors to come together and have a celebration. The more and more celebration we have then we come closer to each other. And that could be the beginning. And we need not straight away get into the governance part of it, because that may take some time for people to understand. But celebrations, coming together, sharing some wine and beer and some food, always can have. And the second question is, there may be some people who are not seeing eye to eye with each other. There may be some enmity between them. And in that case, somebody has to take the initiative to break the ice there. And some people may respond very hard, which means that person needs more attention, that person needs more care, that person needs more compassion. So that is the meaning of it. So if we really work with compassion for each other, definitely things will happen, and it is possible. It is possible.
I love you when you talk like that, because it resonates with having been on your initial course, going down my street and knocking on doors, which I was really quite nervous about doing, actually, and people were confused because I wasn't selling anything. I wasn't asking them to sign up to a political party. I was simply going, hey, we were in the mid-COVID, there was a break in COVID, let's have a street party. And the level of relief for people to be able to have the opportunity to come together and to say they thought it was such a great idea. And it was a real surprise to me how positive the response was. And the lovely Georgia who came and door knocked with me at the end of it, I just said to her, oh God, I wish I did this 10 years ago. All these people are lovely. I didn't know. I think I had one or two people who were a little bit, no, we're not interested, but no one was rude. No, it was absolutely delightful experience. And but it took, there were a lot of people were interested, but only a limited number of people turned up. I think people are just so cautious of something new. And the key is to keep doing it, keep doing it, and finding a group of people who can, again, share that load. So it's not just one person trying to do it all on their own. Wanted to, you said to something to me during the training course, which I'd also like to ask you about, which was really powerful. Someone on the course had said, well, what happens if you knock on the door and the person just says, look, go away, I'm not interested, or maybe they're even rude? And can you remember your response?
Yeah. When somebody is rude with you, that means the message what he gives you is that he needs more understanding, more compassion from your side. He needs to be recognized. He needs to be appreciated. That is the message he gives. So once we understand properly, then definitely things will happen the way we want. So that's why I keep on repeating the word compassion. And this can happen only when the compassion rules. Our intelligence, our ego, all will be blocks here. So we may have to put all these things aside and work only with compassion.
And what you also said at the time was, just the next time you have a street party, knock on their door again and keep knocking, because it's their community. So even if they don't want to engage, it's like, but it is their community. So the door stays open relentlessly. I thought that was just wonderful, and took so much pressure off as well, because we're also frightened of rejection. And in a sense, as you say, it's about compassion. You're not feeling rejection, because go, okay, they're not ready now, but I'm going to keep inviting them to this party. What can you tell me a little bit about children's parliaments?
Yes. Every neighborhood has 3 units of governance. That is a speciality of neighborocracy. From 5 to 15 years, the children are formed as children parliament. 6 to 15 years, they are formed as children parliaments. Then from 16 to 24 or 25 years, they are formed as youth parliament. And above that, adult parliaments. So these 3 units.
I'm sorry, Joseph. Can you start that again? And when you get to the age, especially the middle one, I literally said it so quickly. Was it student parliaments? Just say it again, but just say it a bit more clearly and slowly, because I think it's really important. Thank you.
From the age 6 to 15, we have children parliament. And from 16 to 24, we have youth parliaments. Youth. Then above 25, we have adult neighborhood parliament. See, these 3 units will be simultaneously existing in every neighborhood. The reason is, children may not think the way the adult think. The youth may not think the way the children think. So there may be a conflict of ideas, conflict of decisions. So there will be a separate form of units of governance, but they will be networked by double linking. So that there will be a representative from children parliament to the youth parliament and one to the adult parliament. And similarly from youth parliament, one to the children parliament and one to the adult parliament. And from adult parliament, the child welfare minister will be representing in children parliament, and youth welfare minister will be representing in youth parliament. So they are double linked so that there won't be any conflict of ideas. So they share the ideas, opinions, concerns, care, so that amicable solution, amicable decision is made, which is acceptable to all. That's
Can
how
we
they
just?
function.
That's lovely. Can you just also? So, I'm thinking if someone's listening to this, the youth welfare minister, the child welfare minister. Can you just clarify who those ministers are?
Now, in every neighborhood parliament or youth parliament or children parliament, all of them are elected as ministers. Everyone is a minister. There is no ordinary member there. Everyone is elected as a minister. And in the adult parliament, there will be a minister for child welfare, and there will be a minister for youth welfare, and there will be a minister for gender equality. There will be a minister for elders care. Like that, there will be lots of ministers. The same ministers will be in the children parliament and as well as youth parliament also. So if there is an issue, these parliaments come together, discuss and share the ideas with the other parliaments, so that all the three parliaments come to a common decision, common implementation strategy, plan, and they implement it in their neighborhood.
And just to, that's great, thank you. And just to clarify, so for example, the youth minister may well be the person who currently runs the youth centre. And everyone says, "Hey, could you be the youth minister?" And or it might be the person who's the finance minister, someone who's really helpful in helping people with debt, and maybe they part of a charity that does that. So they have that already, have those skills, and they're bringing
Yes.
them in to help their own community. It's the most kind of natural flow. It's almost so logical that you wonder why we don't do that all the time. Just to, before you tell me something about your the courses that are there, could you please tell me, Joseph, some of the success stories? I loved. Can you start with one of my favourites? Is a story about the I think it's a children's parliament where there were issues with was it drugs, something quite serious going on, and they managed to get a senior government minister or judge, wasn't it, beyond their own parliament to get involved. Could you share that story with us, because I think it's a great story.
So, see, there was illicit arak brewing activities going on in some of the villages. So the children parliament found that it was a very, very, very bad social menace, because there was a lot of people getting drunk and that and this. And at one point of time, 2-3 people died because of the quality of the arak. It was very bad and things like that. So the children parliament took up this case. So they wrote a letter to the local police inspector saying that we are affected, so you'll have to stop this illicit arak brewing. But that man did not take care about it because he gets his cuts. So they wrote a letter to the district superintendent of police. He also did not care about it. So the ministers again in the next sittings, they said, nothing is happening now, we'll have to approach the district collector. So they wrote a letter to the district collector, and he also did not take any action. And this children parliament, they maintain all their letters. They keep all the copies of the letters which they sent for their future references. So finally, in one of the meetings, they decided, now there is no way out. No one is helping us. Let us contact our swearing-in officer. So every ministry, after the election of the ministers is over, the ministers are sworn in by one of the higher officials. And in Tamil Nadu context, it is always by the magistrates, district magistrates or local magistrate, or in the state level, even by the high court judges. So this particular parliament swearing in office was the district magistrate. So they wrote a letter to the district magistrate saying that, sir, this is what the activity going on. People are getting affected. And we wrote a letter to the local inspector on so and so date. A copy is kept. Nothing has happened. And we wrote a letter to the district superintendent of police, and he also ignored. And we wrote a letter to the district collector. So this man saw all this. He said it is a very serious issue. So after taking such a lot of effort by the children, nothing is happening. Then immediately called the district collector. He said, please come to my office in 10 minutes time. I have something serious to discuss with you. And he similarly called the superintendent of police and come to my office. I have a serious issue to discuss with you. Both of them came. Then the district magistrate took the letter, showed to the collector. Did you receive this letter? Have you seen this letter earlier? He saw that. Yes, sir. What have you done on this? Sir, we are trying to take some action on that and this. How long will you take? Sir, we will take immediately. Then he showed the letter to the DSP, and he asked him, did you receive this letter? Yes, sir. What have you done? Sir, we are going to take action. When? No, now you are coming with us, with me. Please get in my car. We'll go. Make arrangement with the police force in Mufti, round that whole village where this is happening. And they took, the magistrate took the officers along with. On the spot, they arrested about 20 people, those who were doing this illicit brewing. And immediately on the spot, he gave He gave a verdict to be remanded. I mean, these 22 people to be remanded immediately and arrested. So that's how it happened. And from then onwards, that district government officials were very, very, very serious about illicit liquor brewing. They never thought a district magistrate will interfere in this. Now it has happened. Now he thought it is going to be a very serious issue, and things started getting solved, and children were so happy, and that's how it happened.
So, to quote from Scooby Doo, those pesky kids have managed to do what no one else had done. And I find these stories very not only humorous but very inspiring, because if the children can do this, what are the adults up to? You know,
Yes.
if they can organise themselves and bring about change even within the established sort of political, social, legal framework, then really everyone should. There's another story you told, which I'd love you to share, to do with roadworks. It was a short one, but it was a really nice one. Do you remember that one? There was some roadworks being done.
Yeah. See, actually, there are many stories about the new roads being laid. But one very impressive story which always I love to share is, I visited one of the villages where the children parliament were happening, and I saw the whole streets were very slushy. And the reason for being these streets were slushy were all these people on the both the sides, the people living on both the sides of the street, were washing the clothes in the open, washing their vessels in the open. So the dirty water came and got collected in the streets. So always the streets were slushy. So as I was passing through, I said, it is very bad. Then I allowed to tell the children parliament to take care of this issue. Then when I met them, I asked them, did you find any problem in your streets? And some of them said, yeah, our streets are always dirty, always slushy. And it is very difficult for our children to walk on that. And even play and things like, because they do everything on the streets. Then I said, what shall we do? You have to do something about it. But the minister said, see, really, we did not know anything, because every family does the same thing here. So there is no way, there is no place for them, there is no separate room to wash all these things. They do everything on the street. Then I said, doesn't matter, let them do it on the open, but they can do something so that every house builds a soak pit next to their house. And whatever the dirty water can be led into the soak pit so that the streets will be dry and neat. But they did not know what is this soak pit. Then I asked the NGO animator to train them how to get the soak pits done, and they trained. And I told them, when I come next time, I should not see any water, any dirty water on the street. So you take care and talk with the panchayat so that panchayat brings a rule that every family has to have their own soak pit.
And this was led by, effectively, it's great that you're doing this with the Children's Parliament rather than with any other form of Parliament. You know it'll get done then. Are you okay for time for a couple more questions?
Well, I love to answer your questions. Yes.
Great.
Doesn't matter. I can inform them that I will join the meeting soon.
It's just literally just a couple more. One was there was a story about, it's quite a short one I think, but it was, I remember the end of the story being that the children had turned up at where some road works were being done, and they were asked, well, what are you doing there? And they were like, they were there to make sure that the contractors were doing the job properly. Do you remember that one? Can you share that one with us?
Yeah. That's quite interesting. So what happened was, one parliament, they had written a request to the government to lay a road. So the government sanctioned money and the road laying was being done. But they noticed that they have to constantly monitor the quality of it. So they went, and every evening they started monitoring how the road being laid and how much cement is being mixed and how much blue metals being mixed and all that. And when they were going, and the contractor was a bit disturbed, said these people are coming and asking every day these questions. So the children parliament said, no, we have the right to know what is the quality of product you use to lay the road. But he was a bit, he was a bit arrogant, and he was not cooperative to answer the children. So the children, what they did, they used the RTI. RTI is right to information in India. So used the RTI and got the contract paper from the PWD, Public Work Department. And there every every detail of the contract is there. The contract is, who is the contractor, what is the amount of contract, and what is the stretch of the road, and what is the quality of the road to be made, and how much of this product and that material and this material to be put, and all that. And they started having the paper in hand and monitoring the road making. So when they were mixing all this material, they say, wait, we want to see. You'll have to put this much sand here, this much cement here, this much blue metal here. Are you doing it properly, and all that? And everyone started, even the adults started learning that they have the right to monitor the civil work of the government. It is because the money of the people, and the road is made for the people, and because we teach them the social auditing to the children parliaments, they do perfect. And from then onwards, everyone became very aware in those areas, not only in that village, even the neighboring village. Whenever there is some civil work happens by the government, the people are at it, and most of the time the children are at it, monitoring and evaluating the work. So the children parliament, they are very honest. Adult, sometimes they're very, reluctant to do certain things. But children, once they know what it is, they are up to it and they are into it, and they ensure that things are done properly.
Fantastic. And to finally, could you just say a little bit about the course that you led? That I had the great pleasure, of being, I think, one part of the first UK cohort, and it was a wonderful, enlightening experience. But if you could, for anyone who's listening to these interviews, thinking this is interesting, I'd like to know more, where would they go? How would they go about it?
Yeah, Susie, please can you just stop the recording? I want to answer the call which comes for me. Sorry, Susie.
I've resumed the recording now. No, not at all. I'm sorry for us to go over time. But yes, you could tell us more about the course. That would be great.
The course you are talking about?
Yes, how to, if people want to understand how to create a neighbourhood parliament,
Yeah.
don't you run a course?
Yes, we are jointly, myself and Nate, we are running a course. And the timing of the course depends on the number of participants. And if we have number of participants ready, then we can start at any point of time. And always we can get connected with Nate, and he will prepare the technical part of it, and we can run the course.
But can you tell somebody, just tell us about what is the course? How does it work? Why would people benefit who are interested in neighbourhood parliaments coming on the course? Just briefly, just so they know.
Well, I'm not able to get the point, the question of yours.
Oh, sorry. It's a course. This is a course about how to understand how neighbourhood parliaments work. It is a course where they learn to start their own neighbourhood parliament. Just explain a little bit about what it
Yes.
is, because
The course
people don't know. Hang on a sec. Let me just.
Yeah. The course is from A to Z about neighborhood parliament. With the introduction, why we need neighborhood parliaments, what are the things will happen in the neighborhood parliaments, how to start a neighborhood parliament, and how they have to function, and everything will be in the course. Everything, whatever is needed by the participant, all will be there, and number of sessions may be extended, can be extended according to the need of the particular cohort.
And when you talk about the cohorts, which countries are people coming from who are currently participating in these courses?
Uh, Now we have run 2-3 cohorts so far, and we have participants from almost every part of the country. I mean, world. From every continent of the world. We have people from New Zealand, Australia. We had people from European countries, and we had people from Asian countries, and we had people from African countries, and Latin American countries, and North American countries, from everywhere. So only when we have people from Australia and American countries, the timing has to be matched in such a way that it doesn't. So there will be two types of timings for the different participants.
Oh, it's a very interactive course, isn't it?
Yes, it is quite interactive, and they will learn more. It is not a lecture type. We will be, learning from the participants, and according to their understanding, things will be given so that it is clearly understood.
And just to round off, have you got any final words you want to say?
Well, I'm so happy to meet and share some of these ideas with our people and with you, Susie. And I am so grateful to you for organizing this wonderful interview. And I'm so much taken up the commitment you have for this, and because I have visited you in your place, and how you had organized even people at locally, and I'm so much taken up. And finally, everyone who wants a peaceful world has to work on it, and they have to contribute little bit of towards this so that they start in their own neighborhood. Everyone who comes across this should initiate this program in their own neighborhood so that every neighborhood can be organized in such a way that at one point of time, these neighborhoods are networked at various higher levels and finally the global level.
Thank you. Here's to a more peaceful world. Thank you so much, Joseph.
Thank you. Thank you, Susie. Thank you.